Hi there, it's Steve again with another bat rep for you. Managed to get a couple of games in against Marcel, my regular opponent, and he bought his Madrak 3 list. Now, because of Death Archons, we feel like Crucible Guard might be a bit of a problem for trolls because of Lukas, and we've played this matchup at least once before. We played Madrak 3 into Lukas on War Table. We didn't do a battle report for that. And we felt like it was favoured for Lukas because he can do cloud walls, he can stack those death buffs and also a little bit of a damage debuff for Madrak. So it seems like Lukas is a little bit favoured. So we looked into that and we felt like adding a bit of anti-cloud tech was a good idea for Madrak. So he's got a slightly altered list. But I don't think we played up this matchup on the channel, so here's what the lists look like. So the Madrak list is Madrak 3 with a Rune Bearer, a Brawler, Pyre Troll, and Troll Basher. Actually, the Pyre Troll was fairly important in the matchup because giving out fire immunity switches off the Burning Ash and Ashen Veil death bonuses for Crucible Guard. He's also got Boom Howler the Destroyer, so there's Boomy 3. Fellcaller Hero, a Dunian Archon, Stone Scribe Chronicler, full unit of Fenblades with the CA, a full unit of Long Riders, a full unit of Champions, and in lieu of Scaldy on the Champions, he's got Linus and Idria for that cloud control. My Lukas list looks like this. So this is a slightly modified version from what my final Lukas list will probably look like. Because I only own one Vindicator, so I had a Rayless Interceptor in the list as well. So the list is Lukas with Alice, we got 2 Liberators and a Vindicator in the battle group. We've got a Rayless Interceptor, 2 Death Archons, 2 Trancers, we've got a Suppressor on Prospero, we've got 2 Mentalists, and 1 Mechanic, and a unit of Failed Experiments. Once again, I failed to win the roll to go first. So Marcel decided that it's a good idea for him to try and go first. His list with Hoofit from Boomy 3 is pretty fast. The Fenblades can mini feat, and they've got Vengeance as well, so they can be pretty fast too. So this is a relatively new archetype for trolls, I think, is that they can run those really fast infantry lists. And yeah, so he decided to go first, and I took the lower table edge here because it looks like a nice spot to defend the right-hand zone with that house there, and the left-hand zone also with the forest. It's quite a nice spot. His flag won't be super accessible for me, but ideally all I want to do is not lose on scenario and then try and grind out a win if possible. So Marcel's first turn look like this. As you can see, those cavalry are halfway across the table, which is pretty nasty. He was a little bit careful to stay outside of most of my shooting range, but wasn't super careful about staying outside of my running Liberator Arc Node range, and also didn't stay outside of the Trancer threat range. So yeah, and this isn't even close to how far up those cavalry can get with Hoofit on them. So in the first turn, I think they can get like 28 inches across the board, something like that, which is pretty threatening, especially if you're like a short-range melee list, for example, which this list isn't, but never mind. So on my turn, I was kind of forced to try and control the cavalry. So what I did was I charged in with the Trancers, and then I tried to I had to feat, so I could afford to do 4 TKs, and that allowed me to try and TK 4 of his cavalry to turn them round to stop them from charging. I think I missed my hit roll on the last one, but I managed to do a little bit of damage. I mean, their armor 22, which is pretty nasty, and their defense 14, so it's pretty bad. But yeah, so I managed to control them, so at least I don't get alphaed straight away on my turn. I left the Fenblades on the right alone, and I just positioned to try and attack them if they move any further forward. I don't think it's worth giving them Vengeance so that they could then charge my battle engine, for example. Death Archons are hanging back and trying to sit behind cover. behind terrain. And same with the failed experiments and the jacks and the mentalists. They're all, and one of the liberators. They're all sitting back, and there's no scenario pressure, so there's no need to go any further forward than I have to. There's no need to go inside those threat ranges. So next turn for Marcel looks like this. So I believe he defeated this turn, because this would be the big turn that I would be able to do lots of work. And so his cavalry moved up to jam, again using Hoofit to their advantage, because they'd be very hard to kill and very inefficient to kill. So jamming with those is a good idea, and then that frees up the rest of his list to do a counter punch on the following turn, potentially. But Madrak allows pretty much any part of his army to do massive damage. So any unit really can be like weapon masters. It's a pretty nasty list and very grindy. So yeah, he basically gave me a problem to work through. Unfortunately, the problem I have... So the problem he has is he has a clock pressure because he has so many models. And the problem I have is I have clock pressure because I really need to optimize every single activation. I need to be super efficient, otherwise he's going to overrun me pretty quickly. So I have to make good decisions all the way through. So we both got quite a lot of clock pressure going on here. And I think both of our clocks are running quite low already at this point. So on my turn, so I managed to chew through a lot of the cavalry. Looks like there's only one left. Did some damage to the Fen Blades, took out a lot of them. I think the Death Archons did get to do some attacks, but I ended up with one of them right out in front of his army. I mean, it's behind the forest, but again, if he can get to it, then he can probably kill it. So that Madrak list is a lot of hit fixing, loads of damage, and lots of ways of handing out Pathfinder. And obviously I just gave him Vengeance by killing all of those Fen Blades, so they're going to be very mobile on the following turn. Other than that, I was pretty okay with the amount of damage I did. I think it was 4 Fen Blades and 4 Cavalry on Madrak's feet turn. That's not too bad, really. But now I've been trying to position to try and minimize the counterpunch. But now the counterpunch is coming. So here it is, and it actually wasn't too bad. I did lose both Death Archons, but at this point, I don't feel that that's super bad because I've still got my failed experiments, and I've still got my jacks, so I've still got plenty of attacks. I've still got my battle engine, so I've still got plenty of attacks to hand out. But I think at this point my clock is less than 10 minutes. So what I decided to do was try and put down an assassination run on Madrak. Now, I basically took way too long to try and pull off that assassination. I think if I had infinite clock, then I might have been able to been a little bit more efficient and pull off that assassination. I can use TK. I use TK and disintegration on him to move him towards my army and turn him round. I use TK to move the Dunian Archon out of the way, and then open up a lot of threat ranges and angles for the failed experiments, both warjacks and that kind of thing. But yeah, I wasn't quick enough. I clocked myself before I even made the final attack, and very well played to Marcel. So I think overall this matchup is very interesting. I think we're going to come back and play it again at some point because it actually seems relatively even, although at the moment it's kind of governed by clock. So if I can find a way to play Lukas in a much more time efficient way, then I can optimize his turns a lot better and maybe have a better chance at grinding down this Madrak list. But I found it was kind of a stress test for Lukas because he runs those Death Archons really well. This is a living army, but this is a living army that's particularly hard to grind through. And if you make any mistakes, if you give away anything for free, then it starts to really hurt. So this is the kind of archetype that I want to play Lukas into because I think that'll make other matchups seem a lot easier in comparison. Anyway, that's enough for this bat rep. We managed to get in another game. So that's the next bat rep that's coming up on the channel. Bye!